We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile. We use it to take away your money, take away your power.
When I read the counterterrorism strategy that was released last week, I remembered this clip. That, of course, is Stephen Miller. And in that clip, he's speaking after the unaliving of Charlie Kirk. Miller says, "You will live in exile. We will come after your money." He's talking about people who either spoke critically or did not support Charlie Kirk. And my first thought was, they always signal what's coming. And what is coming requires propaganda so deceiving and full of lies to convince Trump loyalists that the only solution to people who do not look like, love like, believe as they do, or weren't born in the right country is to exterminate them. Us. Don't tell me I'm wrong or overreacting. It's right here. It's in Stephen Miller's words, and it's in the counterterrorism strategy plan. You will live in exile. Read Donald Trump's presidential foreword. Now they have the plan in print. Now it's time for the politicians and the preachers who support this to prepare the faithful for the violence they are planning. That's why they put it in writing. The strategy plan is the talking points for the talking heads on TV and in church every Sunday who will gleefully spew lie after lie to be rewarded for their obedience. This is language directly from the counterterrorism strategy plan. Currently, we face three major types of terror groups: narco-terrorist and transnational gangs, legacy Islamist terrorists, violent left-wing extremists, including anarchists and anti-fascists. It also says that as real threats were ignored or underplayed, Americans have witnessed the politically motivated unaliving of Christians and conservatives committed by violent left-wing extremists, including the unaliving of Charlie Kirk by a radical who espoused extreme transgender ideology. It goes on to say that in addition to cartels and Islamist terrorist groups, our national CT activities will also prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti-American. Now get this part: radically pro-transgender and anarchists. And what exactly did Trump's presidential foreword say in this document? We will find you and we will kill you. The president of the United States, who is obsessed with Hollywood, used a line from the movie Taken and put his name on a document that clearly targets citizens. It targets the transgender community. It targets those who support the transgender community and left-wing extremists. You can see it plainly now. Anyone who opposes Trump is a threat. All of us. Since the beginning of Trump's second term, a series of federal and state-level actions have reshaped how transgender people are recognized, protected, and allowed to exist in public life. So when you read the counterterrorism strategy by itself, it's already unsettling. Violent left-wing extremists, as we're now all being labeled, are being named alongside cartels and Islamist groups. And then in the same breath, you hear language about people who are radically pro-transgender. That is an intentional through line to convince citizens that anyone who opposes the Trump administration is doing so because they are pro-transgender, as if being so is a bad, extremist, threatening, and harmful thing to support. So once again, do not say we're overreacting. Just listen to Trump's Senior Director for Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka, what he told reporters last week. He said, "We see a threat. We will respond to it, and we will crush it, whether it is the cartels, the jihadists, or violent left extremists like Antifa, and like the transgender killers, the non-binary, the left-wing radicals who killed my friend Charlie Kirk, and we will take them on, head on." What do you think he means? Gorka's statement is an egregious distortion of the truth. First of all, Antifa is not an organization. There's no membership list. There's no headquarters. There's no clear structure. It's simply a label people use. Because why wouldn't you want to be anti-fascists? How could that possibly be a bad thing? Unless you are an authoritarian trying to place dictatorial control over an entire country, then you would detest anti-fascists and call them a threat, wouldn't you? And how do we know they consider anti-fascists a threat? It's literally in the counterterrorism strategy plan on page 5 that anti-fascists are labeled one of the top 3 threats facing our country. The United States of America's government has labeled those fighting fascism a threat And do your own research. Search which leaders were labeled fascist in world history and see who pops up. And now our country is saying that fighting someone like that is a threat. This document says the government is going to identify people, map them domestically, dismantle their networks, and that includes Antifa in that same category. The same is true for radically pro-transgender, whatever that means. Neither is a defined group. We're just people trying to protect a very fragile and failing democracy and be supportive of people's rights to live with the same rights as many of us enjoy within that democracy. But apparently, that appears too much for the ones in our country who are the real threat, the ones who commit the most violence, the ones not named in this document, the ones that the data confirm commit more violence and are more deadly in that violence, right-wing extremists. So let's summarize this. Stephen Miller says, "You will live in exile. We will take your money." Now, Donald Trump signs a counterterrorism strategy plan that says, "We will find you and we will kill you," in a document that labels people as terrorists who are transgender, those who support transgender people, and those who oppose fascism. It starts to make sense, doesn't it? All these massive buildings being purchased across the United States, they're not for just housing undocumented immigrants. They're for housing people who have been labeled extremists, the ones who oppose Trump, the ones who oppose fascism, the ones who support transgender people, the ones who are transgender. I'm going to admit it, I'm feeling a little wobbly since this counterterrorism strategy plan was announced, because I'm wondering how close we are to losing everything. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to take care of myself by tending to my gardens, but then I'm going to be back in the fight, carrying the badge of honor that signals proudly that we are Antifa, that I'll continue for the ones suffering so greatly as human rights continue to be obliterated, for the vision of a better tomorrow, for the children. There is still hope. We are still the majority. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Now, please be sure to follow me on all my channels so we can stay connected.